I remember the first time I heard the word art, and it's on the windows. They used to freeze up in the winter, and my father would say, Jack Frost has his art paintbrush out all night. And these beautiful swirls, looked like leaves, were on the windows in the kitchen. Mind you, it must have been cold in the kitchen. But each morning was a different art on the windows. And that's the first time I heard the word art. I'm Rita Sylvia Warner, and I think I'm an artist. Somebody said I'm an artist, so that's what I do. I grew up in Judique on River Dennis Mountain. I was homeschooled because we lived too far from the school. There was no school bus. Our driveway was 1/4 of a mile long up a hill. We couldn't walk to school. It was about 3.5 miles away and no bus. It was a back road. It was blocked in the winter most of the time. And there was a wall in the kitchen, if I think of it now, that we could paint on behind the wood stove. We could paint on it, and my father would paint over it then, once it got full, and then we'd paint on it again. So I guess that gave you a great freedom to express what you were doing. We were free-range kids. You talk about free-range hens, we were free-range kids. Isolation, I think, brings out creativity. We had no television when I was little, so you had to create your own entertainment. No computers then, no Atari, and no friends or neighbors, so you just had the kids, and you get sick of them, so you have to create. So I was always creating projects. It was fun. Life was fun. Somebody years ago, they actually took one of my paintings and said, "Oh my God, that's lovely." And she hung it in her house. And when I went to visit, there was my painting hanging in her house. And I thought, isn't that such validation? I was so pleased that she hung my painting. But I only really started painting, about 10 years ago. And I gave them as gifts for Christmas because it's a cheap way to get around Christmas. So at one of the vendor markets, I took some paintings with me. And I was vending as a psychic, so I read cards. Anyway, and I had some paintings, and 5 of the paintings I took sold. I came home with like a handful of money, and I thought, my gosh, I have a whole bunch that I can make these.
What's your process?
I'd love to be that artist where they'd tell you, you draw like a bird scene, lovely with trees, and they do it exactly like that. So I sit down and I end up with a rooster or something and a barn. I like to work on a couple of paintings, or maybe 4 at the same time, because I don't want to waste the paint. So I start on this painting, and then I take the brushes and I lay them on the other canvas, and then I have some paint on another canvas. So that's like 3 paintings. So that way I don't waste any paint. They're the leftovers that I was using, so it's spots of different kinds, and I'll just swipe it with my hand and I end up with another painting. So I have 3 paintings that match in color, but not in what the idea would be. One painting is real, and the other 2 are kind of like, abstract. I was lucky enough that Ashley liked my paintings. Ashley MacIsaac. Him and I go back a long way. I knew Ashley when he was a little boy, and he was so thrilled that I was an artist. He didn't realize until just now when we met again. So him and I started talking, and I said, well, I have all these paintings, but I've never sold them. And he said, why don't we have an exhibit? We'll have it here. So I think we're going to have an exhibit in his barn, in his house, and I hope the exhibit is pretty cool.
To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know, sometimes the perfect words are never said.